Okay. So I went over our agenda a little bit earlier. Everyone has the document right in front of them. As I said, hello.
Hi, sorry.
It's okay. At the end, the way we like to structure this, if you have some kind of large question, some kind of concern, or how to do something in Google Docs that you know is probably going to take a little bit longer, or it's maybe specific to your own situation, wait till the end, and we're going to go over that in the last 20-25 minutes or so. But if it's something about what I'm presenting on or Wes is presenting on, it's a quick question that you have, feel free to just raise your hand. We like to answer questions right on the fly as best we can. So Google Docs in a quick nutshell. A lot of people come to our classes and they don't know at all what the product is, and they have no idea what any of these Google products have to offer. So I'm going to just let everyone know what, from a 10,000 foot view, what is Google Docs. At its heart, it's just a Microsoft Office alternative that runs entirely It's a Microsoft Office alternative that gives you a like product to Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. It has a like drawing program that you can use, and it also has a neat tool that Office doesn't offer where you can make forms and feedback forms. You can collect information from people. Very easy to make, very easy to use. We're not going to go over the forms aspect of it because that would probably need a 2-hour class of its own, but I'm going to show you how to get into it and how to play around with it if you do want to give that a try. I know teachers have been using it for online quizzes and tests as well with their students. Google Docs is completely free. It comes as part of a Gmail account, which hopefully does everyone have at least some sort of Google account here today? Gmail or Google Apps from their school or work? Hopefully. You don't have to. If you don't, and you just want to follow along with what we're doing up here, that's fine. But we put everyone into the Google Docs login page, so you can log yourself into your Gmail account, and you can go into the interface, play around with it, hopefully, just start using it, see what you think about it. So hopefully you can get some questions to ask at the end or while we're presenting, so you get a better feel for how this product works. I know this is scary for some people. Some people think, well, it's in the cloud. Is this secure? Is this safe? Should I really be using this? And I will tell you that Google goes to very, very great lengths to make sure that all of your information, all of your documents are safe and secure in their cloud infrastructure. I will say that for a fact I know there has been no known large breach of the Google App Service, and that goes for their email system, their doc service. So they have a very good secure backbone in place to offer this. We run majority of our documents at our company already in Google Docs. We don't even use Office very much anymore. So it's safe for us. I have many other offices and organizations that use it on a daily basis. I'd say it's not 100% mature yet, but it's definitely getting there. As I said, it's an alternative to Office. It doesn't fully replace Office yet, though. So if you're thinking, well, do I have to just use Google Docs, or do I have to just use Office? Do I have to pick one or the other? You don't have to. Most people that start using this on a consistent basis are probably still using Office for some tasks that require very rich formatting or lots of calculations in a spreadsheet, but for 80–85% of what they do on a normal basis, making simple Word documents, simple spreadsheets for themselves, Google Docs can do that. And a lot easier for you. So I'm going to show you how to get into that today during our presentation. One of the greatest things that Google Docs offers, that Microsoft Office is starting to catch up on, but it's not there yet, is collaboration and sharing. We have a full section dedicated to this a little bit later on in today's lecture. We'll show you how to easily share docs with others, with coworkers and family and friends, and work on documents together. And this is something that's really tough in the Microsoft Office world because when you think of when we work with an Office, what do? We make a Word document, we attach it to an email, we send it to someone, they work on it, they send it back to us. It's cumbersome, and there's multiple different versions of the same document that we're working on. Google Docs says, let's start from scratch. Let's change the way we work with documents. There's one master copy that's kept on the cloud that we're working on, and we share that. We give access to others so they can work on it as well. So that's the way that working in Google Docs is different from how we think of Office and saving files on our computer as opposed to saving them on the web and just working on them from there. So there's no issue with multiple copies and having to email all these different people. It's built in from the ground up within Google Docs. Mobile access is very nice. We're going to show off how to use it on the iPad, but there is a Google Docs, Google Drive app it's called now for the iPhone, the Android phone. Most mobile devices now you can get the full Google Docs experience right on a tablet, right on your smartphone. So you can take it with you. You can't really easily take Word, Excel documents with you on the go. Google Docs you can definitely take with you wherever you may want to work on them. And another great thing is revision history. I'm going to show this feature off for everyone. You can go back from the moment you start working on a document, and even if it's 2-3 years later, you can go back and see every single revision change that was made to that document from the start, from the beginning of when that document was made. They offer full support to show you all the changes that were made, and you can revert to any of those changes at any time. So instead of keeping 25 copies or versions of a document or a spreadsheet we're working on, you only have to have one because you can revert back to any single point in time that you may have had in the past. So that's really nice. Makes life a lot easier for people that have long documents, long spreadsheets that they work on, and they don't want to have multiple copies of them. And as I said, the other great part is some people don't see eye to eye with me on this, but the fact that these are stored in the cloud, you don't have to worry about backups with this. It is backed up automatically, daily, on the fly by Google, free of charge. You don't have to worry about that. As long as you have access to your account, you have access to all of your Google Docs files. So there's no issue with, I lost my computer, I lost all my files. That's not the case anymore. Google's storing them, Google's securing them, they're backing them up across the different data centers they have within the United States and the rest of the world. And the beauty about that is you have access to your files wherever you may need to go. I want to ask everyone, I know everyone has a different background, everyone has a different purpose for coming here today. I just want to ask and see, what is it that you exactly want to get out of this class today? What is it specifically that you want to learn? Did you just come here just to see what Google Docs is about? Or is there a specific purpose or a specific thing that you want to learn about what can I do with Google Docs? Don't all raise your hands at once. What's that?
Both of those.
Both of those?
Yeah.
Just interested in seeing what it's about? Okay.
And learning it.
And learning? Anyone else?
I'm just having some issues with printing, so
you're here for the printing section. Okay.
I'm having other issues, but that's just
Well, hopefully we'll address all those at some
and
point
I can take you back that.
today.
I'm in charge of teaching all the teachers from my school Google Docs.
Oh, okay.
I want to find out what her issues are.
What district are we from?
I'm at Emerson Middle School.
Emerson, 64. Okay, wonderful. How many 64 teachers do we have here, staff? Okay, so decent sized audience. Okay. Anything else that anyone's curious about with Google Docs? I already heard discussion about some people wanting to stay ahead of the curve and learning new technologies, so that's good to hear as well, because Google Docs is only growing in the number of organizations that are using it today, so it's definitely a good skill to have in today's uncertain workplace. All right, well that's a good baseline for where we want to head, and as I said, if anything comes to mind, jot it down on your agenda sheet as we go along, bring it up in, during the presentation. We definitely want to answer it before we leave today, okay? So let's go ahead and get started here. If you want to follow along with me, go ahead and everyone's homepage, if you didn't already log in, everyone's homepage should be docs.google.com. Yes?
Mine locked. It says computer locked.
Oh, computer locked.
Just hit control to leave the APIs.
Yeah.
Or type
Control
yes.
alt delete. Oh, okay, gotcha. What are you gonna do?
Sure.
And then just type guest.
If you don't have a Google account of some sort, you don't want to make one right now, that's fine. Just follow along with what I'm doing on the screen. But if you want to log in and make your own document and share it with maybe your neighbor next to you while we're showing off the collaboration aspect of it, you'll see how powerful this product is and get a better feel for what it can offer you. All right.
Mine's a Google Drive.
Yes, yes. So let me explain that really quickly. It's not on our agenda. This is a change that Google's doing right now. So Google Docs, as we keep calling it Google Docs, is actually called Google Drive now. And Google Drive it's been renamed because Google has sort of turned Google Docs into like a Dropbox sort of product where you can actually install it on your computer, your iPad, and your mobile devices and put stuff in the cloud, take stuff off the cloud really quickly. So Drive is the name that sort of entails the whole process around this. But what I'm going to show you today, the actual interface and everything, that's still called Google Docs. So it's a little confusing for some people. When you walk out of here, just remember Google Drive is Google Docs. They're both one and the same, and they are the same product. If this is the first time you're going into the Docs portion of your account, it might be called Documents on the top navigation bar, and once you go through go into it just once, it'll then tell you welcome to Google Drive, and then it'll change the name, as you can see up here, into Drive. So we had this issue in some of our past classes. It was called Docs when I was presenting, and some people were seeing Drive. So know that in about a month or so, everything's going to be called Drive for everyone. So this change is going to be put into concrete very, very soon. I talked about compatibility with Microsoft Office a little bit, and as I said, the number I put it at in terms of how compatible is a Google Docs format document with Microsoft Office, about 85%. And what I mean is, you may have documents that you want to put into Google Drive, or documents that you start in Google Docs or Google Drive and you pull out. You might see that you lost a little formatting when you open it with Office, or that something just doesn't look exactly right. Know that it's still a relatively new product. You know, it's only been around for about 4 or 5 years. Microsoft Office has been around for almost 20 years now. You know, they've been around for a long time. So the fidelity is getting there. It's getting better on a monthly basis, but you know, you have to be wary that there will be some differences when you're moving documents in and out of this program. And another distinction I want to make with everyone is that now that this is called Google Drive and they offer the seamless integration with pulling Microsoft Office documents in, you have the ability to put in Word documents or Excel documents for yourself, and you also have the ability to store what's called native Google Docs documents. So this is like this icon right here denotes a traditional Google Docs format document, as do these here. So when you start using this on a more consistent basis and you start putting documents in here, you will notice that you have everything sort of piling up in your, on your computer you call it the My Documents folder. Online, this is called your Drive. This is called your Google Drive interface. So when you go in here, you're going to see these different things show up here depending on what that item is. Was it a Google Doc? Is it a Word document that you put up in the cloud for yourself? So remember, there is that distinction. There's no separate area just for Office, and for Google Docs, it's all one single interface. And they just denote the differences with the different icons in the organization screen here. So as soon as you log in, this is roughly what you'll be seeing as soon as you have a document or two in here. And I want to show everyone how this interface is organized. So think of what we see here as your My Documents or your user folder if you're a Mac user. This is where all of your documents are stored in your Google Drive. So as you can see here, I have a Word document that I put up into the service. And I'm not going to go into the desktop side of it because that'll take about another 45 minutes if I have to do that. But you can, when you go into here, you can go ahead and download Google Drive for your Mac or your PC, and you can throw documents just like Dropbox. If you've ever used Dropbox, it's pretty much like Dropbox for Google Apps. It's seamless, it's integrated. I think it's a little bit better than Dropbox, but it makes it nice and easy for you to take those documents that were first on only on your computer, put them up here, and then you can also share them out with others, which we'll show in just a little bit. So this interface here, you can customize a little bit. By default, I think that's sorted by the title or last modified, but you can change it if you just use the little sort button that shows here. And you can change it to any one of these number of sorting options that you have here. Some people, like myself, I like to sort my documents by last modified. Some people prefer traditional, by title. So it all depends on what you prefer. the other important part here is that the left-hand navigation bar here is organized into a few different sections. Oh, yes?
I'm sorry. My screen says welcome to Google Drive, and it says install Google Drive for PC.
You might have to click on, I think there's a little button that says install Google Drive. It'll try to install it. Wes will help you out with that. You just have to get past that screen. Wes will come around and help everyone with that. It's just, again, it's the first time you've gone in, so it's going to try and get you to install
They
Google
just don't
Drive.
have a document.
Yeah, they just don't have to see, but they should be able to force past that to get to the main screen,
they
right?
can. They just click create on the left
Okay.
side.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You, on the other hand,
So Wes will come around and help whoever has issues with the home screen interface. You have a few quick areas that you can get to at any time on the left-hand side here. Just like on your computer, you have a recycling bin or a trash can. You do as well on Google Docs. I believe you have 30 days. If you trash an item, you have 30 days to retrieve it. After that, it gets deleted permanently. So you have to be mindful of what you put in the trash can because it's not going to be there forever. These two options here are options that allow you to quickly go and see only docs that are owned by yourself or everything that may be in your drive. And the reason they make this distinction is because as you start working with this more and more, you're going to have things that are being shared with you and things that you're creating. So you're going to have all these things just jumbling up, and some people find it confusing to see one single interface with everything that was shared with them, as well as things that, that they created. So if you click on Owned by Me, on the left-hand side, that's everything that you created, only your docs. If you click on All Items, this brings you to a screen that shows you everything, including things that people shared with you. And we're going to show off how to do, Google Docs sharing in just a little bit.
Excuse
Yes.
me, and if I don't have any owned by me on the left side, then that means I haven't created
It means you probably don't have any documents in there
Okay.
yet. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you haven't made any docs yet, which is probably the case for a good majority of people here, you won't see Owned by Me yet. But as long as you create at least one document, which I'm going to go into in just a second, you're going to see that option show up for you then. So if I showed you, I'll just bring up really quickly my real-time Google Drive interface. I mean, this can go on and on. We have tons of things that we work on and folders that we make for ourselves for all of our different customers. So we do use it on a very consistent basis, and it can get confusing after a while. So that's why it's nice that Google included these easy ways to look at things that only you have started, or things that everything, including the shared items that people have shared out with you. And starred, people ask me about starred. You can easily take a document and you can use this little star option next to anything. So there's a few documents that say you're working on consistently over the next month period, and you've got 100 Google Docs in your list and you just hate searching for them every time. Just put stars next to them. And then when you click on starred, it'll only bring up the items that are starred. So it's like a way of putting a post-it note on a file inside your drawer so you quickly know where it's located, okay? All right. Everyone was able to log into Google Docs, I hope, with one of their accounts that they have. If you didn't, just follow along with what we're doing on the screen. How to create a new document. So for all the people that haven't made a new document for themselves, to make a document in Google Docs is very easy. This little big create button in the upper left-hand side, this is what we're going to use. And when we click on that, it's going to ask us, well, what do we exactly want to make? Majority of our presentation is going to be tied up in the first option, document. This is the Word alternative to Microsoft Office. It's just called document, so it's a straight Google Doc. But here's everything else that Google Docs has to offer as well. Presentation files, PowerPoint. You can make presentations on the web. This little introduction presentation we had is a Google presentation. It works very nicely and very easily. You can do spreadsheets on here. This is the Excel alternative, and I guess I'll just I'll show you what they all look like really quickly, even though we're not going to get too far into them. But this is the interface for a Google presentation. Brings you off just like a fresh PowerPoint screen. You can choose a theme for yourself, start creating slides for yourself. If you went into spreadsheet, it'll bring up, this will be very familiar to people that work with Excel. It's pretty much a spreadsheet interface. You can make multiple tabs within your workbook, and then you have your menus at the top and formatting options at the top as well. And I'm going to go over, and the reason I'm skimming over this is because the formatting options that are located here are almost exactly the same that are in the document format that we're going to go over. So if you know how to use formatting within any other part of Google Docs, you can jump in between the different products. It's very seamless. It's the same experience between each product. The only difference is the output that you're making for yourself, okay? You can also create forms, and I'm not going to go over forms. I can lead you to some instructionals that I've made in the past about forms, but it takes about an hour or two to dedicate to that alone. But this is a neat way to make surveys and quizzes and feedback forms that you can email out to colleagues or your customers, or if you're in a classroom environment, to your students. You can put questions in there. It's an easy way of making complicated surveys very simple and finding, getting all that information collected from others. So that's called Google Forms. And then they have an alternative to, it's by no means a Photoshop or even Microsoft Paint, but it's a very simple drawing program that you can go ahead and make drawings within, manipulate images, and you can share them out easily, just the same way that we're going to share within Google Docs, the Word alternative interface. You can go ahead and share images with others right within here in the same manner. And then if you wanted a new folder, for now, folders are called collections for some people. I don't know, some people might see folder listed here. I still see collection. Google, one of the goofy things they did, they started calling folders collections, and then they sort of changed it back. So don't be surprised if you see it as collection now, it will be showing as folders. So they're going to call everything folders, the way you organize things. So you can see here in my test environment, I have 3 different folders. We'll call them folders. So you can organize your Google Docs. If you make a folder for yourself, I can go to create collection, folder, sorry, I'm calling collection, test 2, put in the name for it, and then if I go back into my home interface, I can drag and drop any documents that I have into that folder for myself. So if I go within there, now everything will be organized. So it's a little bit different than just dragging and dropping files on your traditional computer interface, but it's pretty similar. So it just takes a little bit of getting used to. The nice part is, and I'll show this off in a little bit, you can share entire folders out with people. So it's not like you can share individual documents if you'd like, but you can also share an entire folder. So like me and Wesley, we work with on a lot of training presentations together. I'll make a folder in my Google Docs. I'll share the whole folder. So everything Wes works on, he dumps in there. I dump my items in there. When we go into our Google Docs or Drive interface, we see everything that everyone has worked on. So it's an easy way to take that tough time of making Office documents separately, putting them in the same place. We can do this all online now, put it all within one folder, and now we can work collaboratively together on any projects that we're working on at the current time. Anyone have any questions about the interface and how this is laid out? I know it's new to some people. If you have any questions later on, just feel free to raise your hand. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new, fresh document. We're just going to make a straight traditional document file. So if you want to follow along, feel free to do so. I'm going to click on Create, and I'm going to click on Document. And we'll be brought to the replica of what we know as a new Word document, except now we're in a Google Doc format document for ourselves, which we can work within and manipulate now. Just like Microsoft Word, you can do multiple new windows for yourself, new documents. You can do the same thing. If you go back into your tab at the top and you go back and create another document, it'll open up a new tab for yourself. So most of us use tab browsers today on our home computers or work computers. So watch your tabs as you'll see the new documents open up at the top here. For now we're just working on one, so we only have one document open. So very simply, first thing I do when I make a new Google Doc, make a name for it. Otherwise you're going to have untitled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, unlimited untitles in your organizational interface. So set a name for it. All you have to do, click on where it says Untitled Document. Just click onto it with your mouse, with your left click, and it'll give you the option now to title it. Name it whatever you'd like. I'm going to call mine Test for 9/15/2012. Hit Enter, or just click on the OK button. it'll set a name for it. And if you go back into your home interface, we should see that document in here. And actually my sorting is, I think, by title, so it actually showed up right here for me. But it's instantaneous, it's on the fly, it's in real time. So when you're making documents or other people are sharing documents with you, they will be flooding your Google Drive screen here on the fly. So be aware of that. So back in our document here, right off the bat, if you want to go ahead and sort it, put it into a folder for yourself, go ahead and click on the little folder icon that's next to the name. And you can place it within any of the folders that you may have. Realize that I believe you have to make your folder first in the home screen here, and then you're able to organize your documents after the fact. So you have to create the folder, and then it'll show up here when you go ahead and organize it in here. So that's one of the caveats you have to remember.
And I'm sorry, can you just quickly tell us again how to create a quick folder?
Oh, to make a folder, if you still have your Home tab open at the top,
Right.
go back into Home, go back to the Create button. So that's the place we're going to go for making anything new within Google Drive. And go to New It might be called Folder, it might be called Collection. It might be different for everyone in here. So they are the same thing though. So just go Create, Folder, or Collection, name it. Then when you go in and organize it, you can go ahead and place that document within that folder for yourself. I'm going to just place this for the sake of today. I'm going to put it into Testing 1. Apply changes. And I'm all set. So the basics of the interface, they are pretty straightforward. I will be very honest with you. If you've used Microsoft Word in the past, or even WordPad on a Windows computer within the last 10 years, you could probably find your way around this interface. It's one of the beautiful parts about Google Docs as opposed to Office, which keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger with features that nobody uses. Google Docs likes to keep it simple and organized, so it's just the things that you need. And again, this is more of an example of, you know, if this doesn't have the features that you're looking for, that's where you revert to Office. But for 85%, 90% of what we're doing in terms of collaboration and document creation today, you can usually find those options right in the top two aspects of our navigation bars here within Google Docs. So the first row of menus we have here are just, I don't know what to call them, but they're just the general menus. I'm not going to go over every single option that you have available here, but just some of the larger basics that I'd like to alert everyone to. The File menu has some of the more basic commands here. You can go ahead and make a new document from here. You can open an existing document. This is another place where you can share your document out. We'll go over that in a little bit later. If you wanted to make a copy of this document, you can't just right-click on a document like you can within Windows or Mac and do a straight copy within the home interface. You actually have to go into the document and go to File and go Make a Copy. And when you do that, it'll ask you if you want to copy all the collaborators, which are all the people you've shared with, when you make that copy for yourself. And what happens, it'll just bring up another tab here. It'll say copy of whatever document name that was, and that's how you make a copy of something else that you've worked on in the past. Revision history, I'm going to show that off a little bit later. That's one of the neater aspects of Google Docs. You can change languages on the fly. I personally haven't used this, but other people have told me it works pretty well. You can change to any of these number of languages that they can translate to on the fly. So some people say this is easier than using like Google Translate on the web. Here's an important feature that a lot of people ask me about. How do I take my Google Doc and put it into a traditional Word document or make it into a traditional spreadsheet? File, download as, and here's all the options you get. You can download almost every single kind of doc or Google Doc that you can create that we went over. Like a PowerPoint, you can download as a PowerPoint file, and it'll have the respective formats for that kind of document that you're working with. But this one, for example, you can download a docx file, which is Microsoft Word. If you use OpenOffice on your home or work PCs, you can do an open document format. RTF for computers that don't have Office installed. PDF document. We use this a lot because a lot of people like to get PDF files instead of Word documents if they don't have Office. You can make a PDF out of this, download it, email it to someone, and there you go. You have a nice PDF document. You don't even have to buy the full Acrobat suite for yourself. You can just download it as a plain text file, or you can even do it as a web page. I wouldn't recommend that for many people. It's not what we think of as a traditional website, but if you ever have a need to do that, you definitely could download it like that. They have a few more sharing options here for publishing to the web, which we'll go over in a little bit. You can email collaborators, which is pretty much anyone you've shared this with that has access to this document. You can use the email collaborators option, and you can send out a blast email to everyone that collaborates on that with you. And you can tell them, hey, here are the changes that I made. Here's the things that I want to alert you to on this document. So it's just an easy way of keeping in touch with everyone that's part of this Google Doc that we're working on. And here are our printing options, which I'll go over in a little bit as well. You can do your page setup like within Microsoft Office as well. If you bring that up, you can change it to landscape mode, change your paper size, you know, some of those just basic options like that. Your edit menu, self-explanatory. I'm not going to go over that one. View likewise has ruler options. You can change your... Here's one important thing I do want to bring up from the view menu. Google Docs has been known to offer two different formats of how we can view our documents. So when they have an option like this that's called paginated versus compact, paginated is like what we consider traditional Microsoft Word view, where when we work within a Word document, we know there's a page 1, there's a page 2, there's no such thing as an endless document. Google Docs, on the other hand, lets us choose. Do we want a traditional paginated version of a document, or do we want to have it compact, where it's just an endless document going on and on? For some situations, you might want that endless document without the page break in there. Might be useful to you, but Google says they let you choose. So that's an option now that you can choose from right within the view menu. Under Insert, they have all kinds of different options here for inserting images. A lot of people like to do this. I'll show you really quickly. If you click on Insert Images, it will ask you, where do you want to take your image from? You have 4 different places that you can take images from. You can upload it. So this is the way that most people do it with Microsoft Word. We go ahead, we pull it from our computer somewhere. If you just click on Choose an Image to Upload, it'll ask you where in your computer you want to find the picture from, and you can put it within your Google Doc. This is a neat feature that they didn't have before. It's called Take a Snapshot. You can actually take a picture of yourself if you're doing some kind of instructional document. You can take a picture of anything in your hand as long as you have a webcam on your computer. And I'll show you this right on the fly here. It should show me. There I am on the screen. So if I had something I wanted to show people, maybe if I was doing sign language or something that needed to be seen in person, if I didn't have a camera, I could use my webcam, take a snapshot of that, and there I go. I can just put that right into my Google Doc for myself. The third option is the one I use most of the time, paste via URL, and URL is just web address. It's just a synonymous for web address. So say, for example, that I went onto the internet and I found a picture of, make Wes happy here, we'll find an Apple II, old Apple computer here. I'll find a picture of the Apple II that I like. So for example, this one here. I found my image, as long as it loads for me. Let's go back, let's find a different one. This one here. 2 floppy disk drives, look at that. We can right click on that image, and most browsers allow you to use this option called copy image location, or in Chrome, I think it's a little bit different, but it's along the lines of copy URL or copy image location for wherever that image is located. So when we do that, we'll see when we go back into our Google Doc and we paste in, Control V, on our keyboard, when we paste in that location, we can just pull that image from any website. So if we're browsing a news story, we want to pull an image of some recent event, I can right click on the image, copy the image location, and put it in right via that. So I don't have to download it and then upload it again. It just makes the process a lot easier for us. And there's another option, Your Albums, if you've worked with Picasa. Picasa is a cloud-based image collection service that Google hosts. It's like Flickr or Facebook Photos if you've used those, except Google's version, you can pull that right from your albums. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to insert this image of this Apple II computer that I found on the web. And there we are. And as soon as I pull that in, I can go ahead and manipulate it. I can resize it for myself, just the same way that we work with images within Microsoft Word. or in the iLife suite, the same way we can do that within Google Docs. Moving along here, there's some other options within the insert menu that I'm not going to fully go over, but these are some of the things that people have been asking for over the last year or two, such as footnotes and comments. These didn't used to exist in Google Docs, but they now do, so you can put footnotes in, horizontal lines. You can do page counts on your documents as well, page breaks, headers, footers, the full gamut of things that we're accustomed to in Microsoft Office. The formatting menu, self-explanatory as well. Go ahead and play around with it for yourself. I'm not going to go over that in too much detail, but again, more text formatting options in there. The tools menu has some neat options. You can find your word count. It has a built-in dictionary as well. And this option here, very neat new feature that Google Docs introduced about a few months ago. It's called Research. So if you go to Tools and you click on Research, this is sort of like an assistant to help you write things if you're writing a research paper or something with information that you may need to browse Google for on the fly. As you're typing in things, you can go ahead and use this research bar just to do quick Google searches for yourself. So it's like having Google right on the side of your window instead of having to go into a Google screen here, go back to your Google Doc. It's integrated for you, so you can go ahead and just do that right on the fly for yourself. So research, give that a try. Some people find it useful. I haven't used it that much, but I think students and teachers might find this a lot more useful than most other people. If you wanted to make a table within your document, you can go ahead and under the table menu, insert table, choose how large you want your table to be. I'll do a 3x3, and then you can put items into your table as you do within a within a spreadsheet for yourself, but you can do that right within a Google Doc. So, and again, as I'm doing this on the screen, play around with the different things, give things a try. I'm not going to go into every single formatting option and feature at length. There's a few meaty items that we want to show off, which people are not used to, which is where we're going to spend the most time on. And the second part of our Google Docs screen is our formatting toolbar, and this gives us the options. Again, a lot of those items that we're used to in Microsoft Word, such as undoing and redoing changes that we make. There's a print button here. You can go ahead and change your font really quickly, your text size, bold, italic, underline, a few coloring options for text. If you want to insert a link on some text, you can go ahead and highlight it. And there's an option to insert links, which is right over here. It looks like a little bit anchor button. So I can find a link that I want to go ahead and insert on a piece of text for myself. There is an insert image button, so you don't have to go to insert menu to find your insert image. You can just use this little button right here, and then it'll bring up the same screen that we had earlier. So you can paste in an image or find a picture on your computer for yourself to put in. Lists and bulleted lists we can do right here, and then again our alignment options are right over here for ourselves. So very simple. Again, if you've used Word in the past few years, you know how to get around this basic interface for yourself. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. Give it a try. If you have questions about something specific, just go ahead and ask. Importing and exporting files. I showed off a little bit of this earlier, but I showed everyone how to take their files out as Microsoft Office documents or as PDFs from the File menu. So we would go to File, Download As, and we have all those pretty options. And if you're within the presentation part of Google Docs, again, you'll have the option to download as a PowerPoint file, so you can present it locally on a computer for yourself. If you're in the images editor that I showed you, you can pull anything as a JPEG or a PNG or any kind of other image format that you want to work with. So it's relative based upon what kind of document that we're working on. Say that we wanted to pull Microsoft Word documents in from the computer. A lot of people want to do this as you start working more and more with Google Drive, and there's things that maybe you want to work within the Google Docs interface for yourself. You want to go ahead and pull documents off of your machine or off of your shared drive at your workplace. So if I wanted to do that, I could simply go in, and there's a button right next to Create over here that's called Upload. And I'm going to use that to pull files off of my computer. Now, before this used to be limited to straight Office documents, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, just the straight things that we used to be able to work on within Microsoft Office. Since this is now called Google Drive, we can pull any kind of file we'd like. Now, the only caveat with this is that you have a 5 gigabyte. It'll show you right now. I'm using 0% of 5 gigabytes. Everyone, with your Google account, you have 5 gigabytes of space available. So it's quite a lot. It's actually more than Dropbox gives you by default if you use that service in the past. And 5 gigabytes is quite a bit of space. If you're just going to be uploading Microsoft Office documents for yourself, you can upload a lot of Office documents up to the Google Drive program. But if you're going to be uploading things like media and videos and music, it's going to start getting eaten up a lot faster. So it just all depends on what kind of things you want to put on here. If you want to share out a video file with others, through here you can upload it using this option, and then you can share it. We have the sharing options I'll show you in a little bit, and you can share it with others very easily. It's like, again, like Dropbox, but within the Google Apps interface. I will say this is the best feature for pulling in Office files that we currently use and manipulating them, turning them into Google Docs for ourselves. So I'm going to show everyone how to do that right off the bat. So I'm going to click on the upload button. I want to go ahead and upload a file. So I'm going to click on Files, and let's see if I can just find a quick Word document for myself somewhere here. Let's see here. Do I have a Word document? I do not have any Word documents. Everything I have is a Google Doc, unfortunately. But just for the sake of example, I'm going to go ahead and upload this software log that I have on my C drive. It's a text document, but I'll be able to convert it into a Google Doc very easily. The process is the same, no matter what kind of document or where you pull it from. So I'm going to select the document. I'm going to click on Open, and it's going to go ahead and ask me, what do I want to do with this? Do I want to leave it as a traditional Word or Excel file, or do I want to convert it into a Google Doc format file? And how you answer that is what you want to do with it. If all you want to do is share that Word file out and you don't want to make any changes to it, then leave it as a Word file. But if you want to manipulate it and work on it in this online interface that they have here on Google Docs, you're going to have to convert it, because Google Docs can't edit straight Office documents natively. It has to go ahead and do the conversion, so it can then allow you to work on that document. So that's the one thing to remember about what do I do with the things that I put into Google Docs. If I want to edit them, they have to allow it to be converted within the Google Docs interface. So I'm going to leave that first option checked, where I do want it to convert my document, and I'm going to do Start Upload. It's going to tell us the progress of where it's at. Upload is now complete. And there it is. That file was just uploaded into my Google Docs interface, and I saw it pop in, and it's right here. So if I click on it now, that was a text file on my computer. It was a log file for a piece of software that I had used for a virus cleaning. So it's got a lot of text that doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, I'll show you the original file right here on my computer. I was thinking it was this one here. So again, it looks a little bit different because, again, this one was formatted in a little bit of a goofy manner, but everything that was within there I should see within this interface here, even if the formatting is a little bit different. And again, this is where I said not everything is going to pull in the same way you see it within your Microsoft Word document. So this was not the greatest example of fidelity in terms of a traditional document into a Google Doc, but most things that you tend to pull in do come out a lot better. Simple letters and research papers and things that we want to put into here, they all come out pretty nicely. I will be very honest with you. And now, since I've pulled that in, I can go ahead and edit this and do whatever I'd like to do with it. I can make changes, delete things from here, add things. It's pretty much a document I can now edit, make changes to, and I can go ahead and share with others. And this is the other big item that I want to show everyone with how to share docs as well as print them. Does anyone have any final questions about the basics of the interface, how to get around in Google Docs? Everyone pretty familiar now with how to do that? Yes?
Can you drag and drop into the collection, like instead of like uploading?
You mean from your computer?
Yeah, from my computer.
I believe you can now. Let's see really quickly. I'll see if I can just pull that in here. If I do drag. It actually does work, yeah. As long as you're using a modern browser. And when I mean a modern browser, as long as it's Firefox, Internet Explorer 9, or Chrome of any version, you can do this drag and drop feature.
It'll ask you the settings each time, right?
I would say leave it like this, so you can always do ask yourself if you want to convert it or not. Because if you uncheck this option and you say always convert it, and maybe later on down the road you want to save things as Microsoft Word files instead on your Google Drive, you can get back to the setting. It's just a little bit tougher because you have to do it after the fact. If you leave this option checked, it'll always ask you when you pull something up, do you want to convert it or do you not want to convert it? Okay?
Oh, one more question.
Sure.
I noticed you had the snipping tool on that. Will that work into Google Docs? I mean, I use that a lot in Office.
The snipping tool is not going to work directly with that. So when you snip something, I believe it's going to put it in your clipboard. You're then going to have to paste it into your Google Doc for yourself.
Okay.
So that's one area where Office has a little bit
cleaner
ease of use with pulling snippets in from your computer. But again, there's some programs out there where you do the same kind of functionality. You can make a quick screenshot or a snip for yourself. It'll drop it into a folder, and then you can just drag it from that folder into your document for yourself. So it adds one extra step, but you can still do things pretty seamlessly in the same manner.
Outlook, and you just kind of stick it in there.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of having a desktop program on your computer, because that it doesn't have to have that break between the cloud and the computer. It's right on your computer. It has that seamless interface. There are some challenges with putting software like this on the web. That's one of them. But I believe this barrier is going to be becoming less and less and less as time goes on and Google Docs gets better. Okay? I want to show everyone now how to. I'm actually going to do printing first, because sharing is a whole different beast within itself. So if I wanted to print my document, very simply, I can go to File, Print. I like to just go ahead and click on this print button here on the left-hand side. It should be in the same place for any kind of document you're working on. If I click on Print, internet's a little slow, so it'll take a moment. But as soon as the print dialog comes up, I'll show you the different options that you have for printing your documents. And here's one of the other things that changes depending on what browser you're using. Firefox is not as advanced as Google Chrome, so you're going to just be given the option to download this as a PDF file for printing. If I had this open within Chrome, and actually let me open a Google Doc really quickly within Chrome to show you what you'll get in the cleaner version of this. If I go to File, Print here, now I'll get an option for doing a few more things with it, where I can go ahead and change the number of pages that I want to print from this document. I can go ahead and change it from grayscale to a colored document. So printing is a little bit tougher because it depends on what browser you're coming from with this document. And again, if you pull this document down, if you do a File, Download As, and you pull it as a Word document for yourself, and I'll actually do it right on the fly. We'll do Download as a Word document for our agenda today. I'll save it to my desktop. Minimize, minimize, minimize. If I open that up, there we go. Looks pretty similar to what I had on the web interface there. We have a little bit of an extension here on the right-hand side. For what reason, I do not know. But then again, now I can print it within my traditional Office interface if I'm more comfortable within there. So the other nice thing is that Google Docs offers the flexibility of printing or working within whatever interface you feel most comfortable with. Are there any specific printing questions anyone has? Someone asked about printing here.
About printing. It's just that I can't get the full page to print. So like I was doing it Excel, and it was just kind of chopping it up.
There might have been an option. There might have been an option where it was. Actually, let's go into a spreadsheet really quickly. So when you did print here, it could have been where you had actual size set instead of fit to width.
I didn't go into that.
You didn't see this option when you were printing it? Because if you're doing a print from within the spreadsheet interface, it gives you a few more options here, and you can choose whether or not it's going to be condensed into one page or if it's going to show actual size and print out multiple pages for you.
I mean, it wasn't even condensed, it was just part of it wasn't even there.
What browser do you use on your home computer or whatever computer that was?
Well, it's at work, so.
It's at work? Is it a Windows computer?
No, Mac.
It's a Mac Firefox. I might say give it a try in Google Chrome. Firefox is a little particular in the way it prints things. I think you'll have a little cleaner experience in the Google Chrome interface.
As far as Mac goes, I've completely dropped Firefox and Safari. Google Chrome, even on Mac, is the best.
Okay. Yep, so printing is one of those things that it does depend on what browser that you're coming from, because Firefox doesn't see printing the same way as Google Chrome does. Okay. So here's the fun part about Google Docs. I showed you all the basics of how to make a document, get around the interface. This is where the meat and all the bread and butter comes in terms of why this product is so much cooler than Microsoft Office. On the upper right-hand side of any document we're working on, we have an option to go ahead and share out our document with anyone that we wish. So if I click on the share button, here's the screen I'm going to get. A little daunting at first, but once you get used to this interface, it'll be very easy for you. So by default, if I wanted to share this out with one single person, and remember that sharing has to be done to someone that has a Gmail account or someone that has a Google Apps account. So if you're in a school district that uses Google Apps, you can share with someone of that nature or someone with a Gmail account. You can't just share this with someone with a Comcast account or someone with an AOL account. They have to have some sort of Google account to be able to use this sharing functionality. But as long as they have that requirement met, I can go ahead and start typing in their email address here. So for the sake of demonstration purposes, Wes, I'm going to share this out with you. Okay?
Can you send it to my primary?
Okay. So I'm going to type in Wes's primary email address, which is whoward@firelogic.net. And I can type in one person, or I can type in multiple people here. This box will get as large as you need it to get, depending on how many people it needs to be shared with. If I have those people in my address book already on my Gmail or Google account, I can pull them right from my address book using this option here. But for most people, you're probably just going to type in the email address directly here for the first time. So I'm going to type in Wes's email address. And then I need to choose whether or not Wes has access to edit this document, whether he can just make comments on it, or whether he can only just view the document. So you have 3 different levels of sharing when you're sharing out to individual people. And what this means is basically exactly what it says. If you give them editing rights, they can go ahead and make changes to it. If you give them just viewing rights, all they can do is view that document. So there's a lot of situations where I'm sharing things with Wes that he needs to be able to edit. There's times where I share something out where he only needs to be able to view it or comment on it. So be careful about how much access you're giving someone. By default, Google Docs doesn't share any documents. So by default, a Google Doc is private to you only. As you work on a document, as you can see, private. Only the people listed below can have access. So this Google Doc is private until I give out access to other individuals. So keep that in mind for yourself. Google Docs are not just shared out with everyone in the cloud. They are yours and yours to keep until you give other people those rights. So I'm going to give Wesley the rights to edit this document because our demonstration is a little cooler if he can edit it. So I'm going to leave his email in there. I'm going to say he can't edit that. If I had someone else I wanted to add, such as my colleague Erica, I can start typing in her email, add her in, as many people as I'd like. So all I want is just Wesley for now. And then you have the option to notify that person via email as well that they're getting this shared document. And this is usually a good idea because by default, unless you're going into your Google Drive interface on a consistent basis, you won't see what's shared with you. I have some Gmail accounts that have so many things shared with me that I don't know about because people are just doing so much sharing between accounts. So if it's something important and someone needs to know about it, make sure you notify that person via an email message by leaving this checked so they know you shared this with them and they need to take a look at it. And then I can personalize my message as well. So I'm going to say, Wesley, this is the test document we're working on for today. How short or as long as you like. I usually keep them as short as possible. So as long as I put that message in there for myself, if you want to copy yourself on that email, you can. Most of the time I don't do that. I'm the one making the document, so you don't need to have that sent to yourself. And here's also another neat option. If it's something that you want to actually have pasted within the email that you're sending out, you can choose this option here, and it'll what's called embed all that text from that document into the email. So if you know that you have a problem with people actually opening the things that you send them, if you put it in the email message, they can't say they never saw it, right? So it just makes things a lot easier in that regard where they will actually see what it is that you're sending them. So I would be careful with that again. If it's something with a lot of formatting, a lot of pictures, it may not be good to embed it. But if it's something simple, a little bit of text, maybe a memo for an upcoming meeting or something, I would embed it into there so they all see it right as soon as they open the email. And then they can go into the Google Doc as well for themselves. I'm not going to embed that. I'm just going to go ahead and share and save using this button here now. So Wesley's going to go ahead and get access to it. And the reason this message is coming up now is because I'm using this on a Google Apps account, and Google Apps is just a little different. It's a little more securely knit and securely tied down than traditional Gmail account. You probably won't get this message on Gmail, but if you're working with Google Docs like at a school district, and you're sharing this outside of your organization's email address, you're going to get asked if you want to go ahead and ensure that you're sharing this with a safe party or not. So I'm going to say yes because I know Wesley is a safe person and I want to share that out with him. It's going to take a moment to respond. We're on a little slow internet today, but as soon as this is passed, it's now going to show Wesley on our list. It's going to show his email address. And it's going to say exactly what editing rights he has. So if you're ever curious about what kind of access someone has to a document, all you have to do is click on your share button on the upper right-hand side of a document and see who's in this list. As long as you make sure that no outsiders or people that you don't want to have access anymore are off this list, you're safe and sound. This list is a definitive list for who has access to this particular document. If I wanted to remove Wesley, I could just go ahead and click on the X next to his name and he'd be taken off. I'm going to leave him on since we're going to do a little bit of a neat demonstration coming up with what we can do now.
So if you took him off, would it drop off his...
If it took him, it'll drop him off, not instantaneously, but within probably about 20 seconds or so. He'll be brought to a Google Docs login screen. It'll pretty much say, hey, you don't have access to this anymore. Log in with some kind of credentials that have access. So it'll boot them out pretty quickly for it. So yes, it is pretty secure and it's pretty real time.
So that might be a situation like if you accidentally sent it to the wrong person.
Exactly.
Just withdraw.
Exactly. Yeah. Just take them off the list, and even if you did accidentally share out this with them and send an email to them, if you take them off right away, when they try to go into it, it'll just bring them to a Google Docs login screen, meaning they don't have access to it anymore. So this is a very, very safe way to share documents. I think this is safer than sending an email attachment with something in there. Because this you have definitive control over. An email attachment, as soon as it goes out, you don't have control over it anymore. It's in that person's hands. Even if that's supposed to get retracted, you can't retract it. It's their email, it's their content now. You can ask for them to delete it, but how many people are going to go ahead and delete it? So if you want something securely shared, I would say do it within Google Docs using the sharing options. Okay? Yes?
And this might go, if I need to stop, I'll stop. If you have sharing options set up on the folder and you have sharing options set on the document and you drag the document into the folder, which sharing does it pay attention to?
I'm going to, I don't know 100% the answer to that, but I'm going to follow the methodology that most of the security industry follows, and that the most restrictive sharing option is going to be followed.
Okay.
So even if you have a folder that's shared out with your entire organization, but you have a document that only has sharing rights for one specific person, it's usually going to follow the most restrictive set of policies.
So the minute that person should drag it into the folder that's that's restrictive, and then change the settings? Or will it
if that's supposed to be shared with everyone, I would keep it out of the folder in the first place, because then you're going into some murky territory.
Okay.
But if you do make a mistake...
Editing versus not editing. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, we'll talk about it in a little bit. But yes, as she was mentioning, yeah, if you have a shared collection or a shared folder that you've shared out with a lot of people, be careful what you create within there, because remember, by default, when you then make a document within a collection that's shared or a folder that's shared, so like this folder here is showing as shared because it has a little people icon over it, a little person in the shadow. So if I make a new document within this folder, it's going to be by default shared with everyone that has access to that folder, unless we restrict the settings on this document alone. But then again, it's backwards thinking, so I would just be careful with where you make your document first off, so you don't get caught in a situation where you're sharing out a private file with someone that shouldn't have access to it. So back to our sharing features here. I showed you how to remove someone if you need to remove them. Google Docs makes it nice and easy if you want to give someone a quick shortcut where they can make a desktop shortcut straight to this document for themselves. You can send them this little link up here, up at the top. So as long as they have access, as long as they have shared access to this document, you can send this in an email, and they can just click on that link in an email to get into the document directly. Or if they want to, they can make a link on their desktop, so when they click on that, it'll take them right within that document. So it's sort of a way of making access to a particular document just a little bit easier for someone. This other option up here I want to show everyone really quickly, where it says private. This is what's called a visibility option. So if we didn't want to use the features of sharing individually with certain people, if we wanted to make more of a universal change on this document, we have the option to do so. And this is called using the visibility options. So if I click on this option here next to private where it says change, I can go ahead and use any of these number of options here on this document. And these are dangerous. So be careful what you do in this area, because if you change to public on the web, guess what? This document becomes public on the web instantaneously as soon as you hit save. But this is useful for some situations. There's times where we make documents where we do want everyone to be able to see it, so we go ahead and change it to public on the web, and then we have a nice web address we can give out to others, and anyone can access it no matter what kind of email account they have, even if they don't have specific sharing to it. So this is more of, on a global scale, more of a larger scale sharing with a large number of people. I can change it where it's shared out to anyone with the link. So what that means is that if I send an email out and I change it to anyone with the link, any person that gets that email and has that direct link to the file, they can get into it, but no one else can. So it's not broadcasted on Google, and it's not indexed on the whole World Wide Web. That's a nice feature that we use with a lot of customers that don't have Google Apps, but we want them to see a project file or a spreadsheet we're working on. We use anyone with the link so the person can see it, but it's not accessible to everyone on the internet. So that's sort of an in-between option. I can change it where it's only accessible to, and this is only for people on Google Apps, if they're organization or workplace. If you change it to this option here where it says FireLogic training, that's the test organization that we're using here, your District 64, whatever else, wherever else you may be a part of, that could be shown here, and you can share with everyone at your workplace. You can change it to anyone at your workplace with the link, same as this option here, but only people that have an email address at your organization and that also have the link to the file will be able to get into it. And the default option, as I said, is private, which is the option that is always set for a new document that you make. So again, you have flexibility to do a lot of different things depending on what kind of needs you have with these Google Docs that you're creating. It just depends on who has to have access to it and how much access that they're supposed to have. And I would always say as a note of caution, always use the most restrictive option and work your way towards a more public setting. Because it's always more dangerous to give it out to more people or share it on publicly on the web than it is to restrict that access and give it out to only those that are supposed to have access to this file. Does anyone have any questions about sharing a Google Doc?
The only question I have, when you were sending it to Wesley.
Yes.
You said that you can send it to someone who has a Gmail account?
Yes.
So would their email address not say like Wesley@Gmail, like because of FireLogic?
Yes, because we're using Google Apps, so it shows our own web domain on it. But if someone's on a traditional Gmail account, yes, their email would be jake@gmail.com. Okay. So it would show at Gmail.
D64 is d64.org.
D64.org is your organization, so yes, you guys would be considered a Google Apps organization, and you can just share between other members within the workplace. Okay? But if you know other school districts that are on Google Apps, like if you were sharing with someone at District 207 that is also using Google Apps, and you know they are, you can share it with them, and they would have the same kind of intricate sharing rights and abilities as you do at your workplace. So that's just the one thing you have to keep in mind when you're sharing things. Okay? And I want to show everyone how to share out a folder, because I know you probably were asking about that since I brought that up. If you go ahead and right-click on the folder that you've made and go to Share, you'll have access to the same kind of sharing options that we just went over. So if you click on Share from there, same kind of things exist. If I wanted to share it more globally, I can use the visibility options, or if I wanted to share it individually, I can do the same thing. Share it out by email address, and only specific people would then get access to that folder. So I just shared it with Wesley. He has access to the whole folder. So now anything I have within that folder, he has access to for that sharing level that I gave him permission. I can give Wesley permission to only be able to view everything in my folder, or I can give him access to be able to edit anything within the folder. So we have a lot of offices that are moving all their documents off their servers onto Google Drive, and they're making shared folders and giving everyone within the workplace access to edit all the documents. So now they're collaboratively working on all the documents that everyone has access to. So again, it just depends on what kind of needs your organization has, what kind of needs you have for the documents in your folders. Okay? Anyone with any final questions? Wes is going to come up and he's going to actually show off live collaboration now in real time. So this is actually some of the fun stuff you can do with Google Docs. Okay? All right, swap seats here. Okay.
Well, for starters, I already started messing around with Derrick's document. Derrick's currently on the, he should be able to start writing pretty easily. As you can see, when somebody else enters the document, they instantly appear as a different color on your screen. In this case, Derrick's is purple, and it'll indicate the user who's currently writing something, so Derrick can write little messages to us. This is really useful if you're working in a large group or trying to get some sort of collaborative project moving forward, because in many cases, you can't be in the same place at the same time, and this is especially true for college students. I wish I had technology like this when I was in college, but because we always have to get together in these large groups, and this sort of eliminates that need.
So when I was at Maytown High School, when we were sort of making the transition from Office to Google, a lot of kids previously working projects together and huddling over one machine, and 4 kids would be surrounded. Now they're all sharing on Google Docs, so everyone's on their own computer working within a single document. As you can see, Wesley and I are working within this one document seamlessly together, and there's no one stepping over each other's toes, and we can all get work done without one person just typing away.
I have a friend who just recently graduated from Michigan State, and what he would do is he'd use this technology to upload his entire document into Google Docs, and he'd have me help him proofread his papers and everything for him. And then my fiance would also help proofread them immediately after I went over a line. So you can actually have 2 or 3 different people proofread one paper at the same time, and it really cuts it down on the time, because before you'd have to proofread it, print it out, hand it to somebody, proofread it, hand it out to somebody. And this actually lets you do real-time edits on the document, and you can get some really fast collaboration moving using this technology. Also, one of the interesting features, I'm not sure if Derrick showed you this. Let's see. Where is... Derrick, can you remind me really, where's the versions at really quick?
Revision history?
Yeah.
It's under File.
Thank you.
See Revision History.
All right. If somebody has made a ton of changes to the document that you don't like, using this collaboration, you can actually see what those changes were. So you can either revert back to the original document, or you can go ahead with the version that has the different changes to it.
And there's a basic version, basic interface, which Wes brought up right now, but if you click on this little button on the bottom right-hand side, where it says Show More Detailed Versions for Revisions, that's where you can see almost every single change that was made. And that gets stored, like I said, indefinitely for as long as that document exists. Okay?
The other thing is you can actually restore to this revision, and as long as no more changes are made, I think even if you do make changes, you can still go back.
Yeah, yeah, it restores checkpoints for every single thing.
So it's a really useful feature if somebody jumps into your document, accidentally hits delete, and destroys your entire paper that you've been working on.
And this exists for presentations, spreadsheets, every part of Google Docs that I showed off you can make. This technology exists in there. So revision history is universal.
Alright, one other thing I want to show you guys. Of course, the collaboration is a lot of fun, and this has a lot of the same tools as Office, as Derrick had explained. One other thing that we can actually do is we can create what's known as a collection. Now, what a collection is think of it as a folder. Google likes to go toss around different terms. Collection's nothing more than a folder, and with all of Google's collections, you can actually share them out. So I'm just going to call this one New Collection. So what it'll automatically do is when you create the collection, it'll bring you into that collection folder. You click My Collections, and you can see all the folders that have been created.
And likewise, if someone's working on a Google Doc and you jump into it, it's not like you're going to boot the person off. So some people ever use SharePoint where you have to do checkouts and check-ins on documents. That doesn't exist in here.
No.
Everyone can jump into the document at any time and work on it, and there's going to be no such thing as someone getting booted out. So you don't have to ever worry about that.
There's no restrictions to being able to edit a document unless you remove a person from it. I believe that the user limit's somewhere around 20.
Oh, it's much higher than that.
Really?
It's around 200 in a document. It's very large. I wouldn't say have everyone that's sharing on a document work on it at the same time, because you're going to see so many different colored cursors in the screen, but the possibilities are there if you need to do something like that.
So in theory, you could pretty much go off the wall with it. Write a book that's like 200 pages long in an hour, if you have 200 people helping you write the book. So that is a possibility. So these collections, as I explained them, what you can do with them is you can pretty much put different documents into it. And the way that we do that is we go to Home, find a document. So it's labeled New Document. And let's see, Tools.
The I showed off the little folder next to the name.
And what you can do is you can organize it into your collection. So we're going to add it to New Collections. Now this is in 2 folders. Now this is a feature that's actually really nice, because in Windows, when you have a file in a folder, it only resides in one folder. If you wanted it in another folder, you have to make a completely different copy of it, and it's no longer linked. When you're working in Google Docs, a file can actually exist in 2 locations, but still linked to that same document. So if you have one copy that's shared out with one group and one copy that's shared out with another group, you can still have those 2 different copies in the same location, while at on the other side, the other group doesn't have to see all the files from the other organization, just that one file that you want them to share. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this, and what we'll notice is when we go to New Collections, we now have New Doc listed as a document that's in the New Collections. So
it's the same file, it's just in 2 different folders. So it's kind of hard to grasp around, especially for people that are coming from that traditional, Microsoft Office world. But just like if you use Gmail, you use labels in Gmail, how you can put labels on different emails. You can put one email and have multiple different labels on it. This is the same technology. You can put the same file in multiple different folders. So if you have something that's pertinent to your family, that's also pertinent to a friend, that's pertinent also to work, you can put them in all those different folders so you can find it in any place for yourself.
Way around that, Explorer or whatever, I use shortcuts in different folders.
That's one way to.
Well, I mean, you can get around it like that, but it gets confusing. You have to make sure your shortcuts are still valid. This gets around that by saying, hey, drop the file in any number of different folders, and you can find it wherever you want. I think this is easier than doing shortcuts in folders.
Rather than organizing all the different shortcuts, this gives you a physical copy of the document that you can manipulate through this. If you were to share out a folder in Windows, and the shortcut went out, you wouldn't have the ability to access that document.
You just got to keep track of where you keep your original document.
Yeah, if that original document moves, that shortcut's invalid anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a tracking nightmare.
All right. So one thing that you can also do is you can go ahead and you can share out that collection. I'm going to call them folders. And what we have the option here is I'm going to go ahead and share it out with Derrick. Or me in this case. And what this will do is now any file that's inside of the new collections folder will be shared out. So rather than sharing out one individual object to the person, you can actually share out an entire list for a project. So for example, let's say that you have a project that's in multiple parts that you needed to share out and have, say, a group leader collaboratively put it together, and then you guys can go back and edit it. This would be one way to do it, because you can get the entire list of all the content, all the images, all the sources, go ahead and put them all together into one document, just because you can now see everyone else's collaborative works. So it makes it a little easier and pretty simplistic to work with.
And the way that desktop application comes into play, if you install the desktop app on your Mac or Windows PC, and you have, say, folders upon folders of things you want to move into your Google Drive interface, you can then open up that Google Drive folder. It'll be on your desktop computer, and you can just copy things right into that folder, and it'll show on your online interface. It'll be showing up in real time. So that's the way to easily get lots of documents into Google Drive very quickly.
Derrick, do you have Google Drive installed?
No, I didn't put it on.
Me neither.
Like I said, we're going to skip it for today since it's a little...
I'm sorry, I'm kind of lost here. How come I don't have the same that you have? Like you have Homestar owned by me, where I have my drive.
Well, the thing is, we have a lot of shared collaborative documents, and we've created...
Oh, I see what you mean. So you are using... is you're a District 64 member. That's right. Interesting why it's a little different for her.
It's just for me here. Everybody's
Is it everyone else? Okay.
Yeah, my drive shared with me.
Huh. So what happened is Google's got a little different interface since we're on an older version of the Google Drive interface here. It's a little bit different, but most of the items should line up. I mean, my drive lines with...
It's just called, I guess, technically called something different.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure.
So they've gotten away from home and collections, and they've gotten more into my drive and folder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they changed
we're using the older interface.
Because this part looked the same, but it was called something different.
They changed it back to folders, and
I'm sorry?
they changed collections back to folders because it was driving people like me crazy. So, I mean, like I said, I want to call them folders. I guess we should call them folders, but in our example, they're collections. So, folders, collections, you just have to assume that they're the same.
I missed a half hour somewhere.
Yeah, we're not going crazy. We're on the same page here. It's just folder.
No, it's just Google messing with us. But here's the thing. If you're working within an organization, such as a school, your entire setup from staff to another staff member should be identical. The problem that we're coming across here is that we're within an organization and Google's slow to change. So if you have an existing organization and you don't, Google will eventually change ours over to folders. It's just a question of when, because they have to move everyone over one group at a time, and it can be a really time-intensive task for them. We do get a lot of new features all the time, though. It's kind of hard to keep up with all the changes that Google makes to the system. As we noted, when somebody is working in a document, they do come up as a different color. I'll pull up the document. Derrick should hopefully still be in. No, he popped out of it.
I'm there.
Alright. But it's not coming up with a cursor there.
Yeah, it might be just a little slow to respond, but I see your green color on my end.
Bandwidth in the library is a little slow today, but like we pointed out earlier, the person's name pops up with a given color. That way you can tell who has made what changes and at what time.
Can you show the chat area on the right-hand side?
Yes.
Is it showing up for you?
No.
Do a reload on it.
Yeah, it's acting a little weird. What you can do is you can enable comments. So if you're inside of a document, you can actually have a chat with the other people collaborating on it. Yeah.
For some reason, it's not working on that front PC right now. But Right there, the green that just showed up at the bottom, not the comments, the bottom underneath that.
Yeah.
That should have been the chat. There it is.
Wow.
Every time you open a new tab, it opens you another viewer. So if you see that 3 other viewers are on there, it really could just be you 3 times with 3 different.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a
That's
little
why
depends.
some people.
It is dependent on internet speed. If your internet speed's a little bit slower, it's a little slow to catch up sometimes. So keep that in mind if you see something goofy like that. Where it doesn't show. But this is an easy way to have a conversation with someone when you're working in a document collaboratively, and be able to ask them a question or quickly converse with them instead of calling them or emailing them separately. You can just chat with them right on the right-hand side.
So, I mean, there is an option inside of Gmail which you can call them with, but in order, if you're working on a project collaboratively, the chat feature is a really easy way to sort of pass information back and forth without going through the trouble of actually reaching out in another medium to communicate with them. Pointing out revision history, another thing that you can do is when you're on a document, you can go ahead and add comments to the original document. So, if the document needs to be rewritten, let's say that you're a professor and the document's shared out with you, you can go, or you're a teacher and you have students, you can go ahead and just post a comment, for example, telling them that they need to do a revision or some sort of edit to the document, and then they can go back, reference those comments, and make the changes that were suggested. So rather than marking up the entire paper, you can go ahead, change the color of the text to say green, and then add comments for what needs to be done.
A lot of teachers that grade students' papers now through Google Docs, at least at Maine South where I was at, they were using the comments feature with kids. Or you can do the markup, you can do inline comments on text, but some of them just like to do general comments using the comments feature. So keep that in mind.
I mean, if you're really using Google Docs efficiently, in theory, you can really cut down on paper usage. I know it's something that they promised about computers about 20 years ago that they'd use less paper. With this sort of technology where you sort of have that instant gratification of being able to add comments, collaborate, have the actual professor or teacher in a classroom see the document without the student being like, my dog ate my homework and I forgot to bring it in today. They should always have it. Google's not going to suddenly lose it. If they can't access it, you can access it. And if you can't access it, you know they can. So there really is that accountability factor that comes into using Google Docs.
Another great way that I used to use Google Docs at my old job at Maine South High School. When we used to have technology meetings with all the different technology people in the district, we'd set up a Google Doc that we'd share with everyone, and everyone would say, whoever was leading the meeting would say, hey, throw in the agenda items that you want to talk about in the meeting. We'd all collaborate on the document, and everyone was able to put in their items within there, so then when we met, we just brought up the Google Doc on a big screen and we went through every item one by one. So it's just a way to facilitate things like meetings with different people, or things that used to be these email chains of email back and forth and everyone was on a different page. Now you can do it all within a single nice interface for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to show off the iPad?
I will. I just want to do the email collaborators really fast. One last feature I want to show you guys about collaboration. If you're working with a large group, what you can do, whoever this document shared out with, just hit email collaborators, and you can go ahead and you can send a general email out to everyone. Say, for example, so you can go ahead and send them a message that they'll all receive in their actual email address, and this would be a good feature for trying to keep in contact with them.
And you have that same option of pasting the item from within this document into the email. You want to go back to that really quick, Wes, to show everyone? Yeah. Because it shows up the first time you share a doc, but it also is available right here. Paste the item into the email itself. So again, if you have trouble with people opening things you send them, put it right in the email so you know they're going to see it as soon as they open the message from
you. The very last thing I want to show you guys, and then I'm going to go on to our iPad demo. Let's see, link, save. Alright, let's say that you have something that's not too sensitive, but some people don't have Google Docs, what you can do is you can actually share the document out to anyone with the link, and then I'm hoping you don't have an NIE. Alright. And then if somebody's using a browser that's not necessarily so great, or they just don't have a Google account, what you can actually do is you can open the Google Doc and say Internet Explorer, and right now this person's logged in, but they don't have any credentials for using Google Docs. So simply by having the link, they can then go in and actually make edits to the document.
So this is the only way you can share and have other people's work on Google Docs with you if they don't have true Google accounts. But remember, this option's dangerous because this opens the door to anyone that has the link, for example, or anyone on the web. So just be mindful of when you use that option. But if you do need to have something like that where non-Google users need to edit it, this is the perfect way to give them access to it.
It definitely is a good option, especially if let's say that you're sending something to a grandmother or somebody that's not so familiar with computers. This would be one option for sending it to them, where they could even make edits to it. You could also make it view only, where they can't make edits, so they'll still see the document even though they don't have a Google account. So it does sort of open it up to people that aren't comfortable with using Google, where they can still view and edit your document. But as Derrick said, it's something to just be cautious with. No one else should technically have access to that link, but do know that if somebody does get a hold of it or gets into the email account, they can, in theory, change that document. One other thing that we want to go over today, we brought an iPad with us, and of course, Google Drive is also available on the iPad. Unfortunately, this small segment won't be recorded by our recording, but
do a screen flip to get it to sync. There you go.
Good.
Your cord might be a little loose. That happens too.
Yeah, this.
Do a screen flip.
No, the prong on the one side is slipping out on me. Come on.
Screen flip.
I'm flipping it.
Is that coming up?
Wait up. Of course. Very peculiar.
Let's just show what's up and down.
Maybe work. Nice if it would work. Give it one more try.
Go into an app. Go into Drive or something.
I got nothing. Let me try doing a hard boot really fast.
No, we gotta continue. We're running short on time. So.
Alright. Alright guys, here's what I'm going to try to do since our video isn't working. This is very peculiar. I hope our adapter didn't break on us. Alright, so here's what I'm going to show you guys. On the iPad, I'm going to try to, here's what I'm going to do.
We have another iPad in the drawer.
I don't think it's the iPad, unfortunately.
No, I think it's the connection in this situation, but if two machines were out, that's all I'm saying.
Derrick, your dongle broke on you. Sorry, man.
one here.
Alright, so here's what we have. As you guys can see, we have the Google Drive app right here in the corner. And it's the same icon as it is on the web. Now all you do is you click on that, and then you bring it to the home screen. And what you have is a Google Drive interface that's very similar to one that you'd see on the PC. Now what we have in here is a few different documents that Derrick has set the iPad up with. This is your
the same test account I was working with on the screen. So
what you can do is I'll bring up that same document that we were just working on. Derrick, where's that document?
Do a refresh. You might have to refresh.
Where do you download that Google Drive program?
From the App Store.
From the App Store.
You might have to go on the Wi-Fi, Wes. That could be.
Yeah, I was on it. I set it up before I came up here.
From the Google App Store or from Apple App?
From the Apple App Store. There's no Google App Store on the iPad.
So if you're on a Google tablet device, you go to the Google Play Store. If you're on an Apple device, you go to the Apple App Store.
Okay.
Yeah, it's online. Alright.
You can show another document. It doesn't have to be the same one.
I'm just going to bring up test doc. Derrick, if you can hop into test doc 9:15. Or is it not on there? What you have here is a document that was written on Google Drive for the computer, and what I'm going to do is, if somebody were to be editing it on another computer, you'd have the same sort of effect where you would see the text change, you'd see the actual changes to the document while being edited with the color change and the name being displayed. So it's the exact same layout that you have on the PC, and you can also edit it from the iPad if you wanted. So all that you do to edit it on the iPad, and the internet's really slow in here today.
Yeah, it's part of the problem. Which one again? New test doc?
Yeah, test doc for 9:15. You just want to show me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm in it now.
Okay. I'm just going to stay to view mode because it's not really working well.
Ideally, if internet was an issue, this would be pretty seamless.
You should be able to.
It works pretty well.
Derrick, go ahead, see if you can do an edit.
Yep, testing 2. I'm typing. Anything?
No, internet's too slow. But here's the document Derrick made earlier. You guys can see that one, and then here's the one.
And I think you can create any of the same documents, right, Wes? Right on there too.
There's the changes he just made. They're a little delayed because the internet's not working properly. But pretty much anything you can do on the computer, you can do on the iPad. And as far as sharing them out, let's see. Next to each document, there's an arrow. All you have to do is click the arrow, and you can actually modify the permission settings for who has access to it. So you have the same sharing capabilities as you would on the regular document. And in addition to that, in the upper right-hand corner, they actually give you a preview of that document in case you're looking for slang in particular. So that arrow just gives you the extra options that you're looking for on each document. Since I'm kind of limited by my mobility here, I'm usually used to doing this on a 32-inch, 54-inch display on the wall. But does anyone have any questions?
You get a pretty good idea of all kinds of things that you can do with Google Docs. I mean, I hope that all the different examples and things we showed off today, gives you an idea of where you can take this, for yourselves. The possibilities, as I said, are limitless. You just have to give it a try. Play around with it, see what you can do with it. As I said, I use them for meeting notes. We do a lot of collaboration on projects through Google Docs. My girlfriend and I, we actually keep all of our recipes that we find on the web. We make a Google Doc out of it, and we edit the different docs together. So, I mean, you can do so many different things with Google Docs, just, whatever you can come up with. So, as I said, don't be hesitant to give it a try. It takes a little bit of getting used to it first. Even I was a little apprehensive about, storing my documents in the cloud, but once you get used to it, I find it so much easier than saving a Word document and even after worrying about, backing it up and where did I place it. I go into my Google Drive and everything that I work on is right there for me. So, any questions in general about anything Google Docs or Google Apps related?
So
go ahead.
If one was to be purchasing a new PC or a Mac, would you recommend no need for Office software then?
Agreed. It depends.
It depends. I'm not going to say 100%. I mean, I know myself, I need to go back into Office at times to do some things that I just can't do with Google Docs yet, but it depends on what your needs are. If your needs are very basic, if this is for an elderly person, for example, or for just a student that's doing basic research papers, basic spreadsheets, yes, you don't need Office anymore. If you have needs that are a little bit higher, where you're working with formatting in extensive Excel spreadsheets or more advanced documents that are a lot longer, there's some compatibility issues you're going to run into. But it's getting better on a weekly basis. As I said, Google's consistently improving this product.
I mean, it really comes down to what you're planning to do with it. If you're going to do a lot of Excel calculations, it's one of the shortcomings of using the spreadsheet program in Google. You don't have that same range of formulas, but a lot of the different documents that usually work in Excel will work fine in Google. I mean, we've done some really crazy calculations. Particularly a colleague of ours did an entire travel itinerary with pricing marked out for everything. So we changed one variable and everything else would change. So you do have a lot of that same features, so it's not just a plain spreadsheet that you can't manipulate, but the Excel version's got links into Access and all this other functionality that you just wouldn't have on here, at least not yet.
I'll be completely honest with you. I'm an IT person at heart, and I would say Google Docs does about 97% of what I need to do. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I'd say give it a try. If you need to fall back on Office, you're free to do so. It's not like you have to, say, cut, I'm not using Office anymore. Use a little bit of Google Docs, use Office when you need to, but you'll see yourself, as you start using it, you'll be weaning yourself off of the Office that you're used to.
I mean, for most of the people in this room, I don't think it would be any problem to just say forget Office and go with Google Docs. I mean, it's not worth the $100 price tag on software.
When I say, like, our goal is, I know in my building is for them to open Google first, try Google. If you can't do it in Google, then no matter how work. But like, just that mentality is shifted. Instead of going to PowerPoint,
exactly.
Like, which I kind of go to Google, and if you're like, get out of it and then go out. But at least attempt to go there first.
It's a mental shift. What are you going to first? Instead of thinking Office first, I'm personally in the mode of thinking Google Docs first, and when it doesn't work, going back in Office. But I say it's so far and few in between that, like I said, my life is now on Google Docs. I don't store stuff on my computer as I used to.
Derrick, what was that one video with the motion chart that we did for that other class?
I forget. It was like Hans Rotling something. But I mean, there are so many different uses of Google Docs out there that we haven't showed you everything. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with it. You start playing around with presentations. Forms is very cool as well.
Got it.
There's no audio, unfortunately, though.
No?
I don't have the audio turned or synced up.
But
again, try some of these other things. Try out Google Forms. See what you think. This is a video we like to show sometimes of some of the more crazier things that people have done with Google Docs. And unfortunately, the audio. Scroll it. Let's see if I can show it here.
This country over here is...
Has anyone seen this before? No?
What this is a really early version of the motion charts feature in Google Docs. This can actually be embedded into a...
realized that there was really a need to communicate, because the data of what's happening in the world and the child health of every country is very well aware. So we did this software which displays it like this. Every bubble here is a country. This country over here is this is China. and this is India. The size of the bubble is the population, and on this axis here, I put fertility rate. Because my students, what they said when they looked upon the world, and I asked them, what do you really think about the world? Well, I first discovered that the textbook was Tintin mainly. And they said the world is still we and them. And we is Western world, and them is third world.
The audio's a little
what do you
low,
mean with Western world, I said? Well, that's long life in small family, and third world is short life in large family.
This is sort of the thing
So
that really bothers
this is
me
what
when
I could display here. I put fertility rate here, number of children per woman, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to about 8 children per woman. We have very good data since 1962, 1960 about, on the size of families in all countries. The error margin is narrow. Here I put life expectancy at birth, from 30 years in some countries up to about 70 years. And 1962, there was really a group of countries here that was industrialized countries, and they had small families and long lives. And these were the developing countries. They had large families and they had relatively short lives. Now, what has happened since 1962? We want to see the change. Are the students right? It's still 2 types of countries? Or have these developing countries got smaller families and they live here? Or have they got longer lives and live up there? Let's see. We start the world. And this is all UN statistic that has been available. Here we go. Can you see there? It's China. They're moving against better health. They're improving there. All the green Latin American countries, they are moving towards smaller families. The yellow ones here are the Arabic countries, and they get larger families, but longer lives, but not larger families. The Africans are the green down here. They still remain here. This is India. Indonesia is moving on pretty fast. And in the 80s here, you have Bangladesh still among the African countries there. But now Bangladesh, it's a miracle that happens in the 80s. The imams start to promote family planning, and they move up into that corner. And in 90s, we have the terrible HIV epidemic that takes down the life expectancy of the African countries, and all the rest of the world moves up into the corner where we have long lives and small family, and we have a completely new world. Let me make a comparison directly between United States of America and Vietnam.
So he was working with a lot of data. You won't be able to make something that cool in a spreadsheet that quickly. But again, this is just an example of some of the things you can do with Google Docs. So it is pretty powerful when you start getting your hands dirty with it.
And this is like an early beta of Google. I mean, this is not an advanced copy by any means. I mean, the detail that goes into the graphics now and the manipulation of the data that you can do is even better than that. So.
Any final questions from anyone? It's about noon. I want to get you out of here on time, but if you have anything else, feel free to bring it up. If it's something specific you wanted to talk to us about, just stop one of us. We're going to be here for about another 10-15 minutes, and you can feel free to chat with one of us about your specific concern, okay?
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
There's an Android app for...
There is an Android app. Yep, it should be called Google Drive. It should be free and right within the Google Play Store. Yep. Any Android phone, any iPhone, any Android tablet, any iPad tablet out there, and any Windows or Mac PC. All of them can use. All that work seamlessly together. Yeah. Okay.
It's not about the operating system anymore, guys. It's about the software.
It's about the operator. What you want to do with it. Yeah.
I mean, seriously though, if you want to use Google Docs, you can use Linux, you can use your phone, you can use Mac OS, you can use Windows. It's entirely up to you. As long as your browser supports it, you shouldn't have a problem.
Thanks.
Hope everyone learned a little something today. Give Google Docs a try, okay? Hopefully you'll start to like it as much as we do. Well, thank you, everyone. If you want to talk to one of us, feel free. That's it in terms of our formal presentation for today.